Rain pressed itself against the city like a tired hand against a window, turning the bus shelter into a fogged glass aquarium. The neon sign from the corner bodega buzzed and sputtered, throwing a fishbone of pink light across the slick pavement. Lena sat at the far end of the bench with her legs tucked beneath her, a thrift store sweater wrapped twice around her shoulders and a backpack hugged to her ribs like a life preserver. She wasn't cold exactly. She had passed cold hours ago and drifted into that numb space where you watch your breath and count it, just to make sure you're still here. She kept her eyes down because it was easier that way. When she looked up, she saw reflections, clean coats, umbrellas, glances that slid over her like oil. It was better not to invite the space where pity lived, or worse, the way people flinched from your presence like homelessness could rub off on a sleeve. The bus was late. The late bus was its own kind of sermon about endurance. Lena thought about last winter's late bus, about the heat vents beneath the college library where she and a handful of shadow bodies had huddled, sharing space and silence, trading information like playing cards, safe bathrooms, friendly clerks, which shelters had cots and which had bedbugs. She had learned to think of time in warm minutes. She had learned that nothing lasted, not even hunger. Even hunger had an arc. It rose like a wave and broke and receded, and if you could hold yourself still, sometimes it left you standing. A pair of small boots appeared in her peripheral vision. Yellow rubber boots with blue whales marching along the sides. Lena lifted her gaze and saw the girl attached to them, maybe 6, maybe 7, dark hair escaping from a knit hat, cheeks shiny with rain and certainty. The girl held a lunchbox decorated with unicorns. She was alone on the bench, but not alone in the world. There was a grown-up somewhere whose shadow she trusted to return. The girl looked at Lena with that straightforward curiosity children have before they learn to hold their gaze like grown-ups do, behind fences. "Hi," she said. "Hi," Lena replied, and her voice sounded to her like a drawer on rusty runners. The girl set the lunchbox on her lap. She clicked it open, pivoting it in a practiced motion, the way kids do. The smell of peanut butter rose up, mingled with the damp metal scent of rain and bus oil. "You can have half," the girl announced, pulling out a sandwich wrapped in wax paper. Her hands were small but sure. She broke the sandwich in two with the competence of someone who had been told to share and had decided to make it her calling. "My daddy says sharing is how we practice being brave." Lena opened her mouth to refuse out of reflex, then closed it again. There had been too many refusals lately, jobs, apartments, glances. Something inside her gave permission. "Thank you," she said, and accepted the piece. It was soft, not stale, and the peanut butter glued itself briefly to the roof of her mouth in a way that made tears pinch the back of her eyes. She swallowed carefully, like the moment might break if rushed. "I'm Maya," the girl said. "What's your name?" "Lena." "That's like a song," Maya declared, swinging her boots so the whales swam in air. Lena smiled despite herself. "It is, a little." Maya considered her for a long moment, her brow knitting the way brows do when they're trying to stitch the outside world to the inside understanding. "Are you waiting for someone?" she asked. "Just the bus," Lena said. She didn't add that the bus was the kind of waiting that had no destination. Sometimes she rode just to ride, to feel the hum underfoot and be a passenger inside a story that didn't ask anything of her. "My daddy's coming," Maya said. "He picks me up on rainy days so I don't have to ride the bus alone. Usually I go with Mrs. Ahmad and her twins, but the twins have flute on Tuesdays. Daddy said he'd be here after he closes the shop. He fixes cars. One time he made a car start by listening to it with his head. He's a little like a wizard." "That's useful magic," Lena said. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Rain gathered at the edge of the shelter in a bright, trembling line, as if choosing whether to fall. "Do you have a daddy who fixes things?" Maya asked, unafraid of personal questions. Children live inside questions the way fish live in water. "I used to," Lena said. "But it's just me now." The words were small and neat. They didn't show the long afternoons, the phone calls that weren't returned, the couch that wasn't hers anymore, the warehouses that hired for a week and then shrank like sweaters in hot water. Maya nodded solemnly, as if recognizing the shape of absence. "My mommy died," she said, almost conversational, then glanced up to check if the world would flinch. "When Lena didn't," Maya continued, 2 years ago. "We have her picture by the plant that never dies, you know, the kind that always looks like it needs water but it's fine. Daddy says it's strong and stubborn, like her." "I'm sorry," Lena said, and the words felt too thin for the size of the hole described, but they were true. She sounds lovely. She laughed so big, Maya said, and the memory warmed her voice. Sometimes when I'm almost asleep I remember what it felt like. Daddy laughs but it's smaller now. Like he's keeping some inside to save. The wet air held them briefly in a circle that felt real, like a warm room. Lena took another bite of the sandwich, chewing slowly, tasting the sweetness more than the peanut. A bus roared past without stopping, its windows fogged with faces. What's in your backpack? Maya asked. Mostly clothes, Lena said. A book, a toothbrush, a little tin with coins. She had learned that specificity soothed curiosity. She did not mention the letter she kept in the front pocket, the one with her name printed clearly at the top and the words, "We regret to inform you," in the middle like a stone dropped in a pond. Do you have a home? Maya asked, as if asking whether she had a favorite color. Lena looked at the rain, at the moving street, at her own hands. Not right now, she said. Honesty was easier with children, you didn't have to dress it or apologize for it. Maya's eyes widened with an alertness that wasn't pity. It was something fiercer. She scooted closer on the bench, lunchbox between them like a treaty. You need a home, she said. Then, with a breath that seemed to rearrange something inside her small body, she added softly, and I need a mommy. The sentence landed in the space between them like a pebble that turned out to be a seed. Lena blinked. The shelter hummed with rain and electrical boredom, somewhere a siren dopplered and disappeared. She felt a laugh rise up because the proposition was so outrageously simple it made everything complicated seem silly. She also felt tears threaten again because there it was, the wish the size of the sky, placed in her lap by a child with whales on her boots. Why can't you be my mommy? Maya finished, as if solving a math problem. Lena swallowed. Oh, sweetheart, she said, the endearment rising from some place in her that hadn't been used in a long time. Life, it's more tangled than that. I know, Maya said, though she didn't, not really. But sometimes the untangle takes a while and you start now. Sometimes, Lena agreed. She looked down at her hands. They were strong hands, capable hands, not broken. She thought about the last time she had cooked for someone else, the last time. She had been the person someone called. She had lost so many nouns lately, the words that defined you, renter, employee, neighbor. Was it reckless to pick up such a big noun, even as a pretend for a minute, because a child had offered it? Headlights washed over the curb, and a dented blue sedan nosed up to the bus stop. A man got out, folding his umbrella with the quick competence of someone who had done many small necessary things for a while now. He was in his 30s, maybe, with a mechanic's jacket and a face that looked like it had been folded into worry and then smoothed out again. He saw Maya and his shoulders loosened. Then he saw Lena and they tightened. Munchkin, he said, and warmth lit the word. Sorry I'm late, Mrs. Ahmad called to say the twins' flute case fell in a puddle and, he stopped, clocking the scene, his daughter, an open lunchbox, a stranger in a battered sweater. Daddy, this is Lena, Maya said, concluding introductions before the air could curdle. She's my friend. We shared. She needs a home. The man nodded slowly, eyes flicking to Lena, to the backpack, back to Lena. I'm Daniel, he said, cautious. You okay? I'm fine, Lena said quickly, because that was the first rule, say you're fine. Your daughter is very generous. She stood, out of habit, to make it easier for him to shepherd his child away if that's what he needed to do. Maya hopped up too, planting herself between the adults like a tiny diplomat. Daddy, she said, and her voice did that urgent whisper kids use when they believe in something with their whole body, she doesn't have a home. We have home. Daniel rubbed a hand over his jaw, rain glittering on his lashes. He looked at Lena again, not sidelong now but solidly, like he was measuring something other than danger. Do you have somewhere to be tonight? He asked. Not the police, not the shelter list, a softer question. I can go to the 13th Street Women's Shelter, Lena said. If there are beds. She kept her shoulders back, which was a small act of dignity she had taught herself. Daniel nodded. He glanced down the street where the rain made the world a blur. He sighed, the kind of sigh that carried a lot of small calculations. Look, he said, I mean, we don't usually. He stopped, started again. I can drive you there. We can call and check if they've got space. Get you warm for a minute. Hot tea. I'm not. He flicked a quick look at Maya, promising anything else. That's okay, Lena said, relief loosening a knot she hadn't named. That's more than okay. In the car, With the heater chugging like an old dog, Maya kept up a cheerful stream about her class pet, a guinea pig named Sir Nibbles, the library's winter reading challenge stickers, and how sometimes Daddy burned toast and it made the house smell like dragons. Lena let the sound wash over her. She realized she had missed chatter, the way it fills the cracks of silence like gold in a mended bowl. At the shelter, a woman with tiny braids and a tired smile told them there was a waitlist. Tomorrow morning, maybe, she said, and gave a slip of paper with a number scribbled on it. Back at the car, rain pooling on the shoulders of his jacket, Daniel stood with his keys in his hand and uncertainty in his eyes. He looked at Lena not like a problem but like a story he was deciding whether to keep reading. I can drop you at the 24-hour laundromat, he said, they don't mind people staying late, and there's coffee. Maya tugged his sleeve. Daddy. He looked down. Please, she said simply. She needs warm now. There are moments when your life tilts, so subtle you almost miss the sound. Daniel nodded, once, as if agreeing to something with himself. We live close, he said to Lena. Just for tonight. The couch pulls out. I have a chain on the door if that makes you feel safer. For both of us, he added, with an awkward smile that made him look younger. Lena, whose rules were stitched tight with self-preservation, heard a voice in her that wasn't survival but trust. It wasn't loud, but it was steady. Okay, she said. Their apartment was on the second floor above a nail salon that smelled faintly of acetone and sugar. Inside, it was small but earnest. A couch with mismatched cushions, a plant by a frame with a photo of a woman laughing big, light catching in her hair. On the fridge, magnets held drawings of rainbows with too many stripes, and a schedule written in black marker. School, shop, library, bills due. Shoes lined the mat, small and large, paired and hopeful. Lena hovered just inside the door, the way you do when you've been nowhere and everywhere and suddenly you're on someone's carpet. Daniel handed her a towel without fuss. Bathroom's there, he said. You can shower if you want. We've got spare soap. Hot water on skin is its own language. Lena stood under it until the mirror fogged and the last of the freezing loosened from her bones. She dried her hair with a towel that smelled like laundry day and sunshine, which she knew wasn't possible at this hour but felt true anyway. When she came out, Maya had arranged a ceremony on the coffee table, 3 mugs, steam rising, and a bowl of crackers. Tea party, she announced. Emergency edition. She pushed a mug toward Lena with both hands, careful and delighted. You're invited. Thank you, Lena said, and her voice was less rusty now, as if the hot water had oiled something. They talked around ordinary things, as if laying planks across a river. Daniel asked where she was from, and Lena told him about a small town with a water tower and a diner where everyone owned a piece of the waitress's smile. She told him how she'd come for a job that dissolved between an interview and a start date, how one couch, then another, then none, and how pride hangs around your neck like a charm that stops being lucky. He didn't interrupt to fix it. He didn't say, you should have. He listened with his whole face. Maya told them about picture day and how she had smiled too hard and her teacher said, gentle smile, and she tried but her face wanted to show more. Lena told her that made perfect sense. Sometimes you have a lot of smile in you, she said. It has to come out somewhere. Later, when the tea had been drunk and the crackers had crumbled into the cushion seams, Daniel pulled out the couch bed. He brought blankets that were soft from use, which is the best kind of softness. If you need anything, he said, knock on my door. I'm a light sleeper. I won't, Lena said, and meant both, I won't need anything, and, I won't be trouble, because those were promises she knew how to keep. In the darkness, the apartment breathed around her, the radiator's clicks, the faint street noise, the hum of the fish tank in the corner she hadn't noticed earlier. A child's dream sigh drifted from the small bedroom, and something inside Lena loosened at that sound, like a fist uncurling. Morning came with the brisk clarity of winter light. Daniel was already in the kitchen, cracking eggs with one hand and texting with the other. I called the shelter again, he said, tapping his phone. Still full. I can try again at lunch. He slid a plate toward her, then hesitated, as if unsure whether offering eggs upheld boundaries or violated them. Thank you, Lena said, and ate like someone learning again how to receive. Days can become a string if you let them. 1 became 3 because the shelter kept saying tomorrow, and the couch was fine, and Lena washed dishes without being asked, and Maya insisted she come to the library reading challenge to witness the sticker ceremony. Daniel's caution didn't vanish, It took off its shoes by the door and sat on the arm of the couch. He put his wallet in a tin at night, out of habit, and the first night he had placed it closer to his pillow. By the third, it sat in the tin by the keys, under the clementines. On the fourth day, Lena returned from the community center where she had stood in a long line to fill out a form that would let her stand in other long lines. In her pocket was a flyer for a part-time desk job at the auto shop 2 blocks over, answering phones, scheduling repairs, because she had seen the sign and walked in and said, "I can talk to people kindly," and the owner had looked relieved, like that was the skill he had been missing. "Start Monday," he had grunted, and she had nodded like the world was a stayed sentence. She came through the door with the flyer damp from her grip. Daniel looked up from the kitchen table where a budget sprawled like a question mark. She held out the paper. He read it. His eyebrows rose, then settled. That's great," he said, and his voice had a little hole in it where fear drained out. "That's really great." Maya burst from her room in a cape made from a towel. "Announcement?" she asked, sensing good weather. "Lena got a job," Daniel said. Maya whooped, pure and simple. "I knew it," she said, as if she had known it like she knew the alphabet. That night, they celebrated with pancakes. Daniel burned the first one and laughed, really laughed, the kind that didn't save any for later, and for a second the apartment filled with a sound that was too big for its walls and fit anyway. The weeks that followed had a pattern that felt new and old at once. Lena rose early, made coffee, braided Maya's hair with concentration, learning the way small fingers like to fold into braids like secrets. At the shop she answered phones with a voice that made people less angry about their cars. She learned who paid cash and who apologized for the noise their muffler made as if it were a personal failing. The owner taught her how to read a parts list. She ate lunch at a real table. Sometimes, in the evening, when it was all done, she would stand by the picture on the shelf, the woman with the laughing hair, and say hello under her breath. It wasn't prayer exactly, but it wasn't not. Spring reached into the city and rubbed warmth into it. On a Saturday, they went to the park because Maya had a kite that insisted on flight. The kite bobbed and tugged like a thought, and Maya ran with it until she fell in the grass and laughed so hard she rolled. Daniel sat beside Lena on the bench and passed her a bottle of water. His shoulder brushed hers, not accidentally. The tree above them showered tiny yellow confetti that stuck in their hair. He cleared his throat, a prelude. "This, with you, it's been good," he said, stumbling lightly. "I didn't expect." He gestured in a circle that included the kite, the kid, the bench, the thread of sunlight around their feet. "But I'm glad." "Me too," Lena said. Under her palm, the bench was warm. "I don't know what the right order is for things," Daniel admitted. "I'm not looking to rush you or label this before you," he inhaled. "But if you ever wanted this to be not just for now, we have room. Not just the couch. I mean," he winced, half laughing at himself. "I'm not saying be her mommy. I'm saying, be here. With us. However that looks while it looks like that." Lena watched Maya's kite dive and recover, learning the trick of air currents. Sometimes you don't cut the knot, you learn to live with it and it becomes part of the strength. She thought of that night at the bus stop, of whales on boots and a sandwich broken cleanly in two. She turned to Daniel. "I can't promise I'll never be scared again," she said. "Or that I won't. I'm still building." "Me too," he said. "We all are. Even the plant by her picture drops leaves sometimes." Lena smiled, a full smile with nothing held back. "Okay," she said. He exhaled, and in the space of that breath the future took the shape of something possible. Later, at bedtime, Maya stood in the doorway with her towel cape now a blanket trailing a comet tail behind her. "Are you staying?" she asked, not coy but careful, like handling a glass ornament. Lena crouched so their faces were level. "I'm staying," she said. Maya's eyes went star-bright. She launched herself forward, arms around Lena's neck, the way children do when gravity is a suggestion. "I told you," she whispered, like a secret returning home. "You need a home, and I need a mommy." Lena closed her eyes and let the words press into her skin. Maybe mommy was AW.